Welcome back to Mystery Vault, where we uncover the hidden truths and dark secrets the world tries to keep buried. If you're new here, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because every week we dive into another mystery that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Now, let's open the vault once again and see what lies beneath. The frozen secret Antarctica was never meant to reveal Chapter 1, the frozen continent of secrets. They call it the last frontier on Earth, a land of endless ice, silence, and shadows. A place where the sun vanishes for months and the temperature can kill within minutes. This is Antarctica. For centuries, it has stood untouched, isolated from the rest of the world. But what if I told you that beneath its frozen crust lies something ancient, something that should never have been found? Antarctica covers more than 14 million square kilometers. It's larger than Europe. Yet, less than 1% of it has ever been seen by human eyes. Satellite images show an endless ocean of ice. But what lies beneath remains one of the greatest mysteries on Earth. Since 1959, the Antarctic Treaty has controlled who can enter this frozen land. Signed by more than 50 nations, it claims to protect the continent for scientific research and peaceful purposes. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find rules that make no sense. No private citizen can explore freely. No company can drill or dig deeper than a few meters. And every expedition must be pre-approved by a global council. Why? What are they so desperate to hide? Before the treaty, explorers described strange things here. Compasses spinning out of control. Unusual heat pockets in areas that should have been frozen solid. And shapes, massive geometric patterns beneath the ice. In 1929, Admiral Richard E. Byrd led one of the first American expeditions to Antarctica. His team returned with haunting words. "We found mountains taller than the Rockies, buried under ice, and beyond them, a land of green." A land of green? In Antarctica? Impossible, unless something has been hidden here far longer than science admits. Byrd's later journals hinted at even more disturbing findings, though most of them vanished into military archives. Some fragments that survived describe vast caverns under the ice, glowing from within. He wrote of openings in the earth and strange craft that moved faster than any plane. Many dismissed his claims as hallucinations. But decades later, those same coordinates would match the location of modern satellite anomalies. Coincidence? Or evidence of something real? Let's consider the temperature. Miles beneath the surface of Antarctica's ice, scientists have discovered lakes that never freeze. The most famous, Lake Vostok, sits beneath 2 miles of ice. The water there hasn't seen sunlight for 15 million years. And yet it's warm. How is that possible? Geothermal heat? Or something else generating energy down there? In 2012, when Russian scientists finally drilled through, their communication went silent for hours. When they re-emerged, they claimed to have found new microbial life. But their samples were confiscated before they reached the media. To this day, no one knows what they really found. And then there's the strangest part of all. Antarctica is the only place on Earth where every major power cooperates perfectly, even during war. Russia, the US, China, and dozens of others agree not to touch the land, not to mine, not to build. It's as if a silent deal was made long ago. A deal to protect something buried under the ice. Is it an ancient city? A crashed object? Or a door to something not meant for us to find? Satellite data has revealed mountains shaped like pyramids, perfectly triangular, evenly spaced. Geologists call them coincidences. But if nature carved them, why are they aligned like man-made monuments? Why do they mirror the layout of the Egyptian pyramids at Giza? Could it be that the same civilization once existed here before the continent froze? Something doesn't add up. Every year, new evidence emerges, but the story remains tightly controlled. Why are journalists denied permits to travel deep inland? Why are independent researchers turned back by military aircraft? And why do we hear whispers from insiders, scientists who speak of discoveries that vanish overnight? In 2025, satellite readings again detected heat signatures below the ice shelf. At first, the images were available to the public. Then suddenly they disappeared. Re-uploaded images were blurred, entire coordinates wiped clean. What could force agencies across the world to hide something so quickly? Why does every clue lead to silence? Antarctica holds the oldest ice on Earth. Within that ice could be preserved secrets from before recorded history. DNA, technology, even messages left behind by a forgotten race. And yet we are told not to look, not to dig, not to question. What could possibly be so powerful, so dangerous, that it must remain hidden forever beneath the snow? This is only the beginning, because soon the satellites will reveal what lies beneath. And when they do, humanity may learn a truth we were never meant to know. Chapter 2. The Satellite Anomaly. It started with a satellite scan, a signal that no one was supposed to see. In early 2018, NASA's Earth observation satellite passed over the eastern section of Antarctica, near the Gamburtsev mountain range, a place that should have been nothing but solid ice. But what it found was impossible. Thermal images showed something hot, buried deep beneath more than 2 miles of ice. A region roughly the size of a city, giving off a faint, pulsing heat signature. At first, scientists thought it was a glitch, maybe a calibration error. But when they checked again, the readings were still there. And then, new data came in from 2025. The same coordinates, the same shape. But this time, the signal was stronger. What could generate heat beneath miles of frozen wasteland? Geothermal vents? Maybe. But the shape was too precise. Rectangular edges. Perfect alignment. Not something nature tends to create. When the first satellite photos were uploaded to public archives, they didn't last long. Within hours, the images vanished, replaced with older, blurry photos of the same coordinates. But a few researchers managed to download the originals before they disappeared. One of them, an independent analyst named Mark Devereaux, posted his findings online, claiming the heat pattern matched a massive underground structure. 2 days later, his account was deleted, his website gone. And Mark? He stopped posting altogether. This wasn't the first time satellites had picked up strange signals in Antarctica. In 2006, European satellites recorded low-frequency magnetic anomalies coming from deep beneath the ice near Lake Vostok, the same location where Russian scientists claimed to find new life. But the magnetic patterns didn't behave like anything known on Earth. They pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. What could produce such consistent, controlled magnetic fields from deep underground? Machines? An artificial power source? Or something alive? Scientists from multiple agencies, NASA, ESA, and Russia's Arctic Research Division, quietly formed a small working group to study the readings. But when journalists requested access to the files under the Freedom of Information Act, the response was short and chilling. Data unavailable due to national security restrictions. National security? For ice and rocks? Whatever those satellites captured, it wasn't just a scientific curiosity. It was a threat, or a secret worth hiding. In 2023, an anonymous insider from the U.S. Geological Survey leaked an internal report titled Subglacial Structure 7X. It described a metallic object, roughly 4 kilometers wide, resting in a cavern beneath the ice. The document mentioned engineered composition, reflective alloys, and thermal consistency inconsistent with known geology. But before the report could spread, the original files were pulled offline and marked classified. No agency has ever confirmed the document's existence, but its details match the 2018 satellite readings perfectly. Some researchers now believe that what the satellites found was not natural, but mechanical. An artificial construct that still emits energy even after being buried for thousands of years. Could be a crash craft, an ancient power core, or a base, still active far below the surface? If it's technology, who built it? To understand how something so large could remain hidden, we must look at Antarctica's geography. The ice sheet is over 3 kilometers thick in some areas, enough to bury mountains, lakes, even entire cities. Satellites can only see so much through all that frozen mass. But radar mapping has improved, and that's where things got even stranger. Radar scans from 2024 revealed massive tunnels, stretching for miles beneath the ice. Perfectly smooth, round, and symmetrical. Not cracks, not caves. Something built them, something intelligent. And near one of those tunnels, the same heat signature appeared again. One scientist, who spoke off record, described it like this. It's like the ice isn't hiding something natural, it's protecting something. Something ancient. When pressed for more details, she simply said, "We're not supposed to talk about it." Moments later, her communication line went dead. Even now, that area remains off limits. No-fly zones have expanded, with official explanations citing environmental hazards. But every time the satellites pass overhead, the heat pulse continues. Steady, alive. Chapter 3. Operation High Jump, The Secret Expedition. The year was 1946. World War II had ended barely a year earlier. Most of the world was rebuilding, but the United States Navy had other plans. They launched the largest Antarctic expedition ever attempted, codenamed Operation High Jump. Officially, it was a scientific mission. Unofficially, it was a military operation unlike anything before it. More than 4,700 men, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft set sail toward the frozen continent, led by one man, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Byrd was a legend, a polar explorer, war hero, and the first man to fly over both poles. But this mission was different. On paper, the expedition's goal was to test equipment in extreme conditions and train personnel for cold weather warfare. But why send thousands of soldiers, battleships, and aircraft carriers just to test coats and boots? Something didn't add up. According to declassified Navy logs, Operation High Jump began in December 1946. But within 2 months, it was abruptly terminated. Ships were damaged. Men were lost. And Admiral Byrd returned home with a story no one expected. He told reporters in Chile that his fleet had encountered enemy aircraft capable of flying from pole to pole at incredible speeds. He described a technology far beyond anything on Earth. The interview was published once, then removed from circulation. Some historians insist it was nothing, a mistranslation or simple exaggeration. But others believe Byrd saw something real, something that changed how world powers viewed Antarctica forever. Because shortly after his return, a new era of secrecy began. The US, the UK, Russia, and Germany all sent quiet research missions to the south. And within a decade, the Antarctic Treaty was born, banning all military activity and mining and locking down the continent completely. Coincidence? Or the result of what Byrd discovered? Hidden within Byrd's private diary, declassified decades later, were fragments that raised more questions than answers. He wrote about entering a land beyond the ice wall, a place filled with warm light, lush valleys, and flying objects that moved faster than his plane. He described a strange encounter, beings who told him humanity was on the brink of great disaster. Was it fantasy? Delusion from exhaustion? Or was Byrd trying to warn the world about what truly lies under the ice? Let's look at the timing. During the late 1930s, Nazi Germany had already sent expeditions to Antarctica, claiming territory called New Schwabenland. They searched for warm underground areas, rich in resources. Some believe they found more than they expected and built secret facilities beneath the glaciers. When World War II ended, several Nazi submarines vanished. None were ever found. What if they escaped, not across the ocean, but beneath it? Some conspiracy researchers suggest Operation High Jump was not about exploration at all, but a search and destroy mission to eliminate whatever was left behind. There are reports, never officially confirmed, that U.S. aircraft engaged with unidentified flying craft near the coast of Antarctica. Disc-shaped, silent, and faster than anything in the Navy's arsenal. Several planes were lost. One crashed, and Admiral Byrd ordered an immediate retreat. He cut the mission short by 6 months and returned to Washington. Soon after, every document related to high jump was classified top secret. For decades, veterans of the expedition remained silent. Some, in their final years, spoke of seeing lights in the sky and machines rising from beneath the ice. Others recalled strange radio interference and magnetic fields that disabled compasses. And then there was the cargo, crates sealed and flown directly to Washington, D.C. No manifest, no record, no explanation. What could Byrd have brought back from Antarctica? A relic? Technology? Evidence of an ancient presence? Whatever it was, it changed military policy forever. Within months, U.S. air defense programs began rapid development of experimental aircraft, some eerily similar to the descriptions of what Byrd encountered. The official story remains that Operation High Jump was a training exercise cut short by bad weather. But ask yourself, why has the U.S. Navy never attempted another mission of that scale since? Why did Byrd's later expeditions operate under full military escort? And why, decades later, are parts of his diary still missing? Some say he found a gateway to a hidden world beneath the pole. Others believe he stumbled upon something older than humanity itself, a power buried in the ice, waiting to be rediscovered. Chapter 4. The Nazi Connection: Secrets Beneath the Ice. In the late 1930s, while the world teetered on the edge of war, something unusual was happening far to the south. The German government launched an expedition to Antarctica, officially called the German Antarctic Expedition of 1938-39. Ships carrying aircraft, scientists, and surveying crews headed toward an uninhabited, frozen wilderness. Their mission? Publicly, to claim territory and gather whale oil. But privately, according to declassified documents and persistent rumors, the mission had another goal: to find something hidden beneath the ice, something ancient. They named the area Neuschwabenland, and when they returned to Germany, they brought back photos of strange circular ice formations and miles of uncharted tunnels. After the war ended, rumors began to surface. Some claimed that high-ranking officers had escaped to remote regions, not to South America, as many believe, but to secret facilities in Antarctica. Theories suggested they had discovered an underground world, a vast, ice-covered region with natural geothermal heat, allowing entire caverns to exist beneath the surface. Whispers told of hidden bases, experimental aircraft, and technology decades ahead of its time. Photographs from later years seem to show unidentified objects flying over the Antarctic skies. Was it simply the cold air playing tricks on the camera, or evidence of something that never died with the war? Not long after the war, in 1946, the United States launched Operation High Jump, one of the largest Antarctic expeditions in history. Officially, it was for exploration and training, but the operation included over 4,000 personnel, battleships, aircraft carriers, and heavy equipment, far beyond what would be needed for simple mapping. Within months, the mission ended abruptly. Some of the returning crews spoke of encountering something, details never made public. Decades later, conspiracy theorists connected the dots. Was Operation High Jump a response, or a search, for whatever was left behind from that earlier German expedition? The underground theory. Satellite images in the 1990s revealed heat anomalies beneath parts of Antarctica's ice shelf, areas where warmth radiated upward, as if something powered deep below. Could this be natural volcanic activity? Most scientists think so. Yet, others believe those heat signatures point to vast, man-made structures, ancient tunnels, or even technological relics hidden from the surface world. One declassified map from the Cold War era hints at restricted zones, regions where civilian aircraft were prohibited from flying. Coincidence or cover-up? Whatever lies beneath, the clues have drawn explorers, researchers, and even modern governments closer and closer to one of Earth's last forbidden places. Reflection and teaser for next chapter. So what really happened in those years between 1938 and 1946? Were these expeditions nothing more than scientific exploration? Or was their discovery so powerful it changed the course of history in silence. The answers might lie not in history books, but beneath the ice itself. And what if those strange signals we still pick up today, the ones scientists call anomalous radio echoes, aren't random at all? In the next chapter, we'll explore the frozen signals, messages from beneath the ice. Until then, keep your eyes open. And remember, not everything buried stays frozen forever. Chapter 5, The Frozen Signals, Messages from Beneath the Ice. This is the frozen signals, messages from beneath the ice. It started as a faint signal, a low, repeating hum echoing across the polar night. In the early 2000s, researchers stationed at Antarctica's remote listening posts began detecting unexplained radio frequencies. The signals didn't match any known communication source, not satellites, not weather stations, and not natural background noise. They came at irregular intervals, sometimes once a week, sometimes every few hours. And every time, the pattern was different. When analyzed, the signal contained repeating mathematical sequences, as if intelligently structured. Scientists dismissed it as interference, but the signals kept coming. In 2016, a private research satellite orbiting the South Pole recorded an electromagnetic burst lasting only a few seconds, but powerful enough to be detected around the globe. The source? Somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. Experts tried to explain it away. It's just a glitch, they said. A reflection, a storm, or a solar flare. But none of those matched the data. Every time the signal appeared, it carried the same repeating code, a strange pulse that, when converted to audio, sounded like a slow, rhythmic heartbeat echoing through static. Some began calling it the pulse of the ice, the hidden correlation. Around the same time, seismic sensors began picking up unusual vibrations deep within the continent, thousands of feet below. The tremors were not earthquakes. They were too symmetrical. One scientist, speaking anonymously, claimed that the vibrations and the radio signals lined up almost perfectly in time, as if something beneath the ice was responding. When this information leaked online, forums exploded with theories. Was it a hidden research facility experimenting with deep-frequency communication? Or was something older, buried for millennia, stirring beneath the ice sheets? Government silence and the whispers online. In 2018, a journalist investigating the phenomenon reported that multiple research teams in Antarctica suddenly went silent. Their websites were taken down, and their contact emails vanished overnight. Officially, the explanation was server consolidation. But those who followed the signals noticed the strange transmissions stopped almost immediately afterward. For a while, all was quiet. Then, in 2022, an amateur radio operator in Chile picked up a weak but familiar pattern. The same pulse, the same rhythm, now coming from two different sources. Whatever it was had moved. Chapter 6, Theories and the Unanswered. What are these signals? A secret government test? A natural geological frequency we still don't understand? Or could it be something ancient beneath the ice? Something intelligent? No one has offered proof. Only questions. But one fact remains: the pulse continues. Every few months, another faint signal breaks the silence of the South Pole. Some say it's just the Earth breathing. Others say it's a warning. And maybe, just maybe, it's a message waiting for someone brave enough to answer. The first vanishings. The story begins in 1958, when a small international team set out from the southern coast of Antarctica. They were scientists, geologists, and radio engineers. 10 men in total, led by Captain Henrik Lorne, a Norwegian explorer known for his fearlessness. Their mission was simple: to study the newly discovered magnetic anomalies beneath the ice shelf. They sent updates daily, until one evening in August. Their last message read, "Something strange in the ice. We're moving closer." Then silence. The weather was calm, no blizzards, no solar storms. Yet every radio connection dropped at the exact same time. When a rescue team finally reached their last known coordinates weeks later, they found only fragments, torn tents, a broken camera, and footprints that led toward a ridge, then stopped. No bodies, no tracks returning. It was as if the ice had swallowed them whole. The journal that shouldn't exist. Decades later, in 1999, a U.S. research team stumbled upon something buried just a few miles from that same site, a metal container frozen solid. Inside was a half-frozen leather-bound journal with Captain Lorne's name on it. The ink had faded, but some words were still visible. One entry read, "We heard the signal again. Closer this time. The men say it feels like a calling. The ice is humming. It vibrates through the ground." The final page was almost illegible, written in shaky handwriting. "We saw lights beneath us, not reflections. Something is alive down there." After the journal was recovered, it was taken for study. Within weeks, every member of the recovery crew was reassigned, and the container was classified. The journal has never been seen publicly again. The modern expeditions. Fast forward to 2012. Two private documentary crews attempted to follow Lorne's last route using modern GPS and thermal imaging drones. They wanted proof, either of a government cover-up or an unknown discovery buried deep beneath. The first crew vanished after only 6 days. Their final drone footage was partially uploaded to the satellite before the feed cut. The video showed a large fissure opening in the ice and a faint blue light shining from below. Then the signal froze. The second crew arrived months later. They found the first team's camp still standing, coffee still frozen in mugs, laptops still powered, batteries intact, but no sign of the 6 people who were there. The ice around the site was untouched, except for one thing: strange circular burn marks in the snow that had not melted through the ice layer, as if the snow itself had been burned from within. The 2020 satellite incident. In early 2020, a private satellite owned by a university recorded what appeared to be movement in a restricted zone of Antarctica. The images showed heat signatures, not from machines, but roughly human-sized, slowly moving across an area where temperatures should have made survival impossible. The strange part? The shapes moved in perfect unison, forming a circular pattern before fading from thermal range. When journalists requested the images, they were told the files were corrupted, but fragments of the data were leaked, and those who analyzed it say it looked eerily similar to 6 human outlines, walking single file directly toward the area where the 2012 crews disappeared. Theories and silence. Some say these disappearances are part of nature, that the continent hides its own kind of curse. Others believe the teams found something they were never meant to find: an entrance, a structure, or perhaps the source of the signals themselves. A few surviving relatives claim they still receive strange calls, blank, silent phone connections that trace back to Antarctic relay towers long decommissioned. Every call lasts 33 seconds. Every call ends with a single tone, the same one recorded from the frozen signals. Coincidence or contact? Chapter 7. The Ice Caves of the Unknown. Discovery beneath the ice. In 2017, a team of geologists from several universities announced something extraordinary: vast cave systems beneath the Antarctic ice. Using thermal scans and radar mapping, they discovered tunnels large enough to fit skyscrapers, extending for miles beneath the surface. The readings showed temperatures inside those caves reaching as high as 25 degrees Celsius, warm enough for life. Scientists said it was volcanic activity, but others asked the obvious question: if it's only volcanic heat, why do some of the tunnels give off artificial radiation patterns, like energy signatures? The question was quickly dismissed. Yet, deep beneath the coldest place on Earth, something was glowing. The glow that shouldn't be. Satellite images taken at night show faint, shifting light beneath layers of ice near Mount Erebus, one of Antarctica's few active volcanoes. The colors aren't natural, a pulsing mix of blue and amber, moving like veins of electricity. Some experts said the data was corrupted, but when independent observers tried to verify, they were denied access to the raw files. The official reason? National security. That phrase, repeated over and over, made the mystery grow colder and deeper. Because if these caves are just geological formations, why would any government classify them? Chapter 8. The Core Below. In 1998, a multinational research crew was sent to investigate unexplained heat signatures nearly 2 miles below the surface. Their mission: locate the source of an energy reading that defied all geological logic. For the first 12 hours, everything went as planned. The team descended through the tunnel system mapped by drones. Their radio updates were steady, calm, routine. Then, the transmissions began to change. According to archived recordings, the crew began describing something strange, a low-frequency hum that seemed to vibrate through the metal walls of their equipment. Not through the air, but directly through their bones. One of the engineers, a man named Carlson, compared it to the sound of the earth breathing. But as they descended, their lights began to flicker. Static overtook their cameras. Even their watches began to desynchronize. At precisely 3:17 a.m., the team reached what the logs call the final shaft. Beyond that point, the air temperature should have dropped to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Instead, it rose rapidly. In less than 5 minutes, their instruments recorded a climb to 15 degrees Celsius, warm enough for the ice to melt around their suits. They had reached something impossible, a heat source inside solid glacial ice. "We're seeing light," Carlson reported. "It's pulsating." His last clear words before interference began were, "It's like it's alive." The signal began to distort. Voices echoed over themselves, repeating phrases seconds apart, like the radio was trapped in a loop. Analysts later discovered that the transmission contained inverted frequencies, audio patterns that seemed to mimic the crew's own voices, repeating back words they hadn't yet said. Then came the final segment of the recording, recovered weeks later from a frozen relay station. The camera footage was corrupted, just flashes of movement, blinding light, and something moving behind the team. Carlson's voice returned one last time, trembling but clear. "The floor isn't ice, it's something else. It's translucent, and beneath it, I can see shapes. Hundreds of them. Like," he continues, barely audible, "they're not frozen. They're waiting." After that, the transmission cut off completely. For days, the base attempted to reach them. No reply. When rescue teams finally descended to their last known location, all they found were melted cables, scorched rock, and a hollow chamber, half a mile wide, perfectly smooth like glass. Chapter 9. The Last Transmission. I obtained a copy through an independent archivist. The file was corrupted, fragmented. When I restored it, the first thing I heard was breathing. Human, shallow, terrified. Then a voice. Carlson's voice. His tone was calm, but his words trembled as if each syllable cost him something. "If anyone finds this, we're not alone down here. It's not light. It's something else. It hears us." There's a pause, then a sound that doesn't belong, a sharp intake of air followed by a deep, resonant hum, the same vibration that melted through every device before. Carlson whispers again. It's inside the ice, it's waking. The audio distorts, like two frequencies colliding. Behind his voice, there's another, layered beneath, almost human, repeating his last words back in perfect rhythm. When I isolated that background voice, I realized it wasn't an echo. It was answering him. Every analysis I ran produced the same anomaly, a pattern shaped like a heartbeat, encoded in the waveform itself. It wasn't noise. It was a message. When slowed to 1/8 speed, it formed a sequence, 3 repeating syllables. No language I know, but the tone carried emotion, grief, and recognition. As I listened, I began to feel the same vibration through my speakers that the crew once described. A low pressure in the chest, like standing too close to something alive but unseen. The temperature in my room dropped. My monitor flickered, and then one final sentence came through. "It's not under the ice anymore." After that, nothing. The signal looped for exactly 13 minutes and stopped. I checked the coordinates the transmission repeated. They weren't in Antarctica anymore. They were roughly 1 mile off the coast of Argentina, in open water. Whatever the core was, it moved. The file metadata shows the upload time as 3:17 a.m. the same hour the last team vanished. Some might say that's coincidence, but I've listened to enough mysteries to know coincidences are just patterns we don't understand yet. For days after hearing that file, I couldn't sleep. The hum stayed in my ears, even when the audio was gone. I tried to share it. Each time, the copy corrupted itself, the waveform flattening to silence, as if it refused to be transmitted again. Maybe some secrets don't want to be told. And so this is where a story ends, or maybe where it begins again. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, a team found something ancient. They called it the core below. Now its echo drifts through the airwaves, whispering to anyone who dares to listen. It's inside the ice, it's waking. This was Mystery Vault. Until next time, keep your lights on and listen carefully.